right, so welcome to the political perspective. I am Reggie, aka Speed and Bullet. This is B. 1, 2, 3 explanation points. Make sure I get
There
that
you
part
go.
right.
1, 2, 3.
And if you are not political, then you do not have a perspective. So obviously, we had a lot of time in between the last time we talked. B, I did put out my kind of weekly Trump tracker that I'm working on.
Yes.
Yeah, which um was a bit labor intensive, but I think it's kind of important to kind of track these things. So what I think I'm going to do is probably do something like that weekly. Just to kind of have everything in this encompassed and actually to have some visuals so people can look up the different articles and kind of come up with their own conclusion on some of the information that we talk about. First thing I want to talk about is just the air quote war on drugs in the Caribbean and the blowing up of boats has evolved into now seizing oil tankers. So the Trump administration is in some hot water for some suspected, or what people suspect as being some war crimes. And this happened on the very first boat strike on a boat traveling from Venezuela being shot out of the ocean. And there are rules of engagement that the military has to follow, where if a boat is struck and there are survivors, then we're supposed to, just in a humane way, capture those people, bring them to safety because they have survived the initial attack. And that's pretty across the board, through the Geneva Convention. It's something that we have to, we have soldiers out here in the sea also, and we would want that type of humane treatment of our military officers. So the Trump administration has had to answer just questions about how that happened, and they have pretty much doubled down on their reasoning that these people that were on this boat were a part of a kill list, and they were instructed to kill everyone on the boat. And I think it gives you an idea of how the United States kind of justifies just outwardly just killing people. You just put someone on a list and we can just kill them. Or we can make up things about who they are, call them narco terrorists, which is not even really a real term. A terrorist is someone that uses uses violence in order to push a political narrative. That's what a terrorist is. That's always been the traditional definition of a terrorist. So to call someone a narco terrorist is just like you're just playing loose with words, but using that to just kill people. What that has evolved into is now the United States has seized an oil tanker. And B, you mentioned a lot of these decisions that this administration does has to do with money. It has to do with access to money and putting people in places that can create and maintain that access to money. And everyone should know by now that Venezuela has the largest oil reserves on earth.
Yes.
And there has been conversations about this is not about drugs. These drugs are not coming to the United States, not on a speedboat that you would use to water ski. Like these boats are not traveling thousands of miles to the United States. Like it's not even logical with these small boats. But now that they have seized an oil tanker, that gives you more of an indication on what the reasoning is behind some of these attacks. So the Venezuela government has called it straight up piracy, and the United States, the administration has not given any reason why they have seized this tanker. It's problematic because it looks like we're going to be probably at war with Venezuela very soon. Because I mean, if you are Venezuela, you are a country. Are you going to just let the United States just seize your product that's coming, from your country? So I mean, that's something that we have to stay tuned
Real quick, am I off? And maybe I'm wrong. Didn't he just, well, not just, but wasn't he at the White House with the Venezuelan president not too long ago?
You saying was
Or
the
maybe,
Venezuelan president at the White House?
yeah.
No,
Or
no.
was he was meeting with somebody, some leader from Venezuela. Am I off? Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, and the only reason why I'm saying I doubt it is because I believe that there's an arrest warrant out for the president.
Okay, so maybe it wasn't him.
Yeah, so
Sorry
I don't
about that.
think he could. He could. But there is. So what's interesting is Venezuela's opposition leader. She won the Nobel Prize this year, and she's someone that has, and I don't think no one feels like Venezuela is, this great utopian country. There's a lot of human rights violations in Venezuela. Venezuela is the cause of a lot of migration and immigration because people are leaving Venezuela. Because it's not a stable country, doesn't have a stable economy. But the fact that the United States continuously thinks that we should be meddling into other countries' problems or other countries' affairs. We've seen how this happens. I mean, we've seen how this ends. These countries are displaced, their populations are destroyed, their natural resources are ransacked, and these countries are normally not better after the United States comes over there and just starts trashing their country. And if you think that there's migration and immigration and forced immigration throughout Central America and South America, what's going to happen if there's a war in Venezuela and we start bombing their cities? Their people got to have somewhere to go, and the people are not the government. And what do you do with those folks? So it's kind of like a horrible situation that we got to kind of stay tuned, because it does look like we will be at war pretty soon. The next thing I want to talk about is, Trump has paused all immigration for 19 countries. This kind of happened after the National Guard, the two National Guard troops were shot in D.C. So Trump always does. He goes the bigoted, racist route every single time.
Every single time.
But all visas and applications have been stopped from these 19 countries. Of course, none of these countries are European countries.
Why would they be?
Yeah. Why would they be? But what's interesting is, and this happened early this week, some folks were actually about to get sworn in as American citizens and were grabbed out of line.
Oh no!
Yeah, it's horrible. I mean, just the inhumane treatment of people. So they went through the whole process. And were about to be sworn in, and feds came, snatched them out of line. You guys are not going to be able to be citizens as a result of this.
That's terrible. I didn't see this. That's horrible.
Yeah, it's absolutely terrible. But it tracks with what the administration is doing with immigration and collective punishment. This person was Afghan national, and to put that, and it's funny we just talked about this about some of the behaviors of Black people, right? And it gives, like I said earlier, it gives a cover for racists to be racist. We kind of accept this kind of behavior. When one person does something that we don't like, now it's a whole community that ends up being targeted because of that. And that's happening right now in Minnesota with the Somali community. They were accused, and some people were convicted of some fraud during COVID. And it was something like, I think maybe between 50 and 70 Somalians of different immigration status. Some were naturalized citizens, some were American citizens, some were documented. And now Trump is sending the National Guard to Minnesota to round up Somalians. And one report said that the Somalians in this particular, and what's interesting is it wasn't just Somalians. The head person of this scheme was a white woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's been arrested and she's been tried, and I believe she's been convicted. But she's a white woman. So the person that had this scheme is white, but the people that are getting the most negative comments and get out of our country and your country's a shithole, they're the ones that are receiving the brunt of this. But also the report said that the Somalians in this scheme, and this happened since 2014. We're talking about maybe 4 to 5 years of this, and the accumulation of these funds that were supposed to be going to these good programs, and people were pocketing the money. Unfortunately, we know that a lot of that was going on around COVID. A lot of that was going on, and to the tune of they said that they misappropriated about $1 billion worth of funds. But the report showed that there were about $250 billion of funds that were misused. So 1 billion versus 250 billion, and we can all make a very assumption of who handled the majority of that $250 billion. And a lot of it was not just poor people. A lot of it was people that had money. Their businesses. They followed. I mean, we can go off. So it's like these immigrants are being dragged through the mud, but the majority of this fraud was done by Americans.
I had a question. This might be off topic. I did see this today. Trump has been cutting a lot of programs and funding for a lot of programs, but I saw today that the deficit increased in under a year of him being president, $2.3 trillion. Why? How does this happen?
I mean, I have no idea.
I know I have my thoughts that
but please give your thoughts.
I said it a bunch of times. I've been screaming it. I feel like his whole purpose was to see how he can get him and his friends. Let me cut these programs that's helping these people, and let me funnel it to me and my friends so we could get richer. That's just really how I feel, and nothing I've seen has shown me different.
Yeah, I mean, and you would think it's so much publicity around cuts, around layoffs, around terminations that, and we all know that Doge was a failure, right? We know Doge was a failure. Doge was supposed to have
Doge doesn't exist anymore, right? Yeah,
right. So that found $1 trillion. They found like 12 billion, which is a very small amount compared to what they said was $1 trillion worth of waste, fraud, and abuse. It really shows me what history has shown about Republican administrations. Like the debt has always soared under Republican administrations. The economy has always taken a hit or outright tanked. During Republican administrations, and then Democrats have to come and clean it up. Famously, Barack Obama cleaned up George Bush's economy.
George Bush's, yeah.
And infamously or famously, Donald Trump left Joe Biden with the shambles of a country, with COVID and everything that happened there. But even now, the perception was that the economy under Joe Biden was getting better, and now Trump is doing everything to tank the economy. So it doesn't make any sense when you're supposed to be Republicans supposed to be the party of fiscal responsibility, but more money is being spent and more debt is being accumulated. But it tracks. It tracks with Republican administrations and Republican presidents, unfortunately. Another thing I want to talk about is Trump and his pardon. So we know that Trump just pardoned the former president of Honduras, who was convicted in the United States legal system of conspiring to transport over 400 tons of cocaine directly into the United States.
Insane.
Using Honduras as a midpoint, for the cartels, and receiving bribes from El Chapo and all of this. And this person was pardoned by the president of the United States. And the reasoning is what Trump always says, is that these folks were mistreated. I don't know I don't know how you can be mistreated to the point that you're accused and convicted of conspiring to ship 400 tons of cocaine. I mean, it seems like that evidence seems to be overwhelming. However, Trump pardoned him, but simultaneously says that we're stopping the illegal transport of drugs to the United States through Venezuela. So it kind of lets you know. And it's funny, been saying this, actually me and Felicia been saying this, and like a lot of these things is like you're literally playing in people's face. Like
He's really, I'm sorry, I gotta say, he's running this country. He's killing us, in the sense of people are still caught up in, hey, you can't do that. There's a process in place that says you can't do this. You got to stop. I can't believe he's doing this. And he's running it from the standpoint of, I'm doing whatever the fuck I want to do. And what the fuck you going to do about it?
nothing.
And if we people aren't really catching up to the, he don't give a fuck, and we're just confused arguing what you can and can't do.
Yeah, I'll tell you, my fear is what happens years down the line, because if there's this attitude that Trump has that he can do whatever he wants, what's to stop the next president from doing whatever he wants, and the next
Right.
president, and that to me creeps closer and closer to authoritarian dictator. Like, I can do whatever I want. And Trump has shown that the courts are not going to stop him.
None of that shit, man.
Party's not going to stop him. He does what he wants. And
he said this is the last, when he got elected, this is the last time you have to vote for a president. And I've seen a lot of chatter of people saying, oh, well, I thought it was ridiculous then, but I could see how it could happen now.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the craziness is test case to see how much the American people will accept. How much will the Republican Party, which is not really a party, it's a party of one at this point, but how much will they accept? How and it's a test case to see how far we can push. We can push the line, and it looks like there is no limit to how far the line can be pushed. Like it's I mean, as much as we know how ridiculous Trump is, it is certainly it needs to be studied. There has to be a class on Trump and how he's been able to consolidate his power within the United States. It's actually pretty amazing that no president has ever accumulated this kind of power, but has yielded it in such a way. Like, no president has ever done that. But some of the other pardons and commuted prison sentences, Trump pardoned hedge fund CEO who defrauded his investors of $1.6 billion. Trump just pardoned him. I wonder if any of those folks are going to get any of their money back. But he ran a Ponzi scheme. Trump pardoned him. Trump also pardoned a Democratic congressperson from Arizona who was convicted. And these are all people that were convicted, not people who. So we're talking about went through the entire legal process. Was convicted of taking over $600,000 in bribes from a foreign oil company. Trump pardoned him, and you would say, well, why would Trump pardon a Democratic politician? So Trump must have been under the impression that this person was now going to be Republican. And the person, and this is it's almost like the audacity of like politicians. So he immediately is running for office. How you get out of jail when you immediately running for office? And Trump pretty much says that this guy's ungrateful because he's not running as a Republican. So you passing out pardons for possibility that this person might turn to a Republican. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It just
don't want to talk to me about some goddamn Sharon Moore.
Right, exactly. Trump administration has taken the hepatitis B vaccine off of the recommended vaccination for children.
Oh my God!
Yeah, some studies say that it could cause, in the next 10 years, it could cause maybe 200,000 or 300,000 deaths in children and young people. And there's also some talk about taking polio off of the vaccine regimen. So imagine that polio comes back.
Bring polio back. Fuck it.
Bring polio back. Next thing is Trump remove MLK and Juneteenth from the national parks free admission dates. But also
and added his birthday.
Right.
Yes.
Also added his birthday as one of the free dates for the national park. It tracks with people who try to defend or give cover to Donald Trump and just his outward racist and bigoted approach to the world. Like,
yeah,
what sense does that make? I mean, the arrogance of putting your birthday as a free day. All right, whatever. That's actually cool. But to take the 3 days away for Martin Luther King and Juneteenth, like, if that's not a direct shot at Black people, there's no such thing. And how these types of activities don't get our folks activated is like, come on. Like, once again,
it brings me to a quote I recently saw, where it goes, well, actually by Trump. I was trying to word it in a way where the audience would know it's Trump, but I have to. This was hilarious to me. Not hilarious, but it's just the arrogance, right? Black people love Trump. They know a scam better than anybody. They know what it is to be scammed. This whole thing with the Martin Luther King and that was the actual quote he said at a speech. This whole thing with the Martin Luther King and Juneteenth and that and his birthday, it's like, you talking about you, like, you playing in our face with that quote. Like, what are you talking about? You are you scamming us. We are being scammed.
Yeah,
and real quick, Black people, we're not even being scammed because Black people don't love Trump. The vote showed that. So who's he talking to?
Listen, I think he's talking to white people.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think his audience is always for white people.
Yeah.
Where's Trump's platinum plan? Where's it at?
Where is that?
That's
another thing. That's another thing I saw today. The healthcare, where it's like, hey, I'm ending these ACA credits, but then I saw today is, oh, I'm in favor of sending Americans $1,500 for their healthcare. It's like, yeah, the love of money is the root of all evil, and that just takes on a new meaning where his evil is preying on people's love of money.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, hey, $1,500. Fuck those ACA credits where people are going to die. It's just fucked up.
Right. And I mean, and like you said, even today, there were 2 healthcare bills that were introduced by the Senate, and both of them were blocked. And I think that we all saw this coming. I mean, me and you talked about it. When the Democrats, finally caved in and opened the government back up.
Yeah.
Here it is. They said third week in December, they was going to be voting on it, and we knew that it wasn't going to go anywhere. I mean, we knew.
We knew that in real time.
I mean, you're not even engaging with people who you should have any faith that it will go anywhere. And it looks like the subsidies are going to end. What I hope is that because of the government shutdown and the subsidies kind of conversation, that when they do end and people's health insurance start to skyrocket, it should be the end of the Republican Party. I mean, it really should be. I doubt it. I doubt it. But it really should be, because it's so public. It's not one of these things that are kind of like behind the scenes. Almost everybody, even casual people that know nothing about politics, know about the shutdown and know about these ACA subsidies. So it's still a couple of weeks left in the Senate session. So we'll see if they come up with anything. But I have no faith that they're going to come up with anything. I mean, shoot, as much as they talk about Obamacare being so terrible, Obamacare has been around since I think 2010. So you guys have had 15 years to be able to come up with something better. 15 years to take any of what you would consider the bad parts of Obamacare and fix them. And I suspect that they've tried, but I suspect there's really only one fix, and that would be universal health care. And they're not going to go with that because it's too much money. But I think that if you're telling me that they've had 15 years to come up with something better, and all we have is subsidies and that's it, and a bunch of complaining, that tells me that that there is no real solution to this unless
Yeah.
there's a new system in place. Like I said, something like universal health insurance. Other than that, I don't see them doing that. So unfortunately, it's going to be kicked down the road further and further and further. Last thing I want to do real quick is one of the things that's happening right now is there are some challenges to Trump and his kind of power grab and his his kind of refusal to do things in what has traditionally been a proper way. So a lot of people have challenged a lot of Trump's challenge a lot of his power in the courts. So there were some court rulings this week where a judge has limited Trump's ability to arrest immigrants without actual physical warrants. So that's a court case that the judge cited for the plaintiffs against Trump. A judge also blocked Trump from cutting Medicaid funds to Planned Parenthood for 22 states. So Trump attempted to cut Planned Parenthood for all of these states, and a judge has blocked that order. A judge did allow Trump to keep the National Guard in Washington, D.C. So that was another order that was disputed in court. And the last thing, a judge has blocked 250, small number, but 250 layoffs of government workers that Trump recently attempted to lay off. So there are some potential guardrails in the courts, but unfortunately, the Supreme Court, which is supposed to be the ultimate guardrail, appears to be totally really MAGA. I mean, people call it people
laying out the red carpet for whatever you want.
Yeah, it's pretty much a MAGA court.
Yeah.
So that's all I got. You got anything else, B?
No, you pretty much covered it. I wanted to get to the national parks, and you got to that. I just, I don't know how. I think I kind of convinced myself that next year was an election year, but I had to remember, like, oh wait, it's less than a year. It's just so much with this administration, and I yes, it's also the access to information that you have daily, but it's just so much on a daily basis. Um, it's other things with the Supreme. I mean, you alluded to it with the Supreme Court being MAGA, and I was looking for it while you were talking. It was something I saw earlier this week about the Supreme Court voting on allowing Trump to. It was something with the independent workers. I can't really remember. Sorry if I'm butchering it, but it's just so much all the time. And yeah, you talked about hoping it's the end of the Republican Party, or it should be the end of the Republican Party with the healthcare and how everything's going on. But if you go back to, he's saying, well, you don't got to vote for so if you don't have to vote anymore, it's like, I'm moving like this because I know what's coming. I'm redistricting. We're not gonna vote for a president. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm here, and I'm gonna just pass it off, or whatever the plan is when he gets. I don't know. I don't know what the plan is. It's a mess right now, and you know, I don't know.
It ain't going.
My only hope is that it gets to the point of ridiculousness where it just unifies people. The vote in November was encouraging based on some of the results. We talked
Miami.
about it. Right, we talked
Yeah.
about it before with the blue wave. mini blue wave or blue wave that happened in November. So that was encouraging, and just hopefully that continues as long as we're still voting for our politicians.
All right. James, two things for you, my Florida guy. So Miami has the first Democratic mayor in 30 years.
Wow.
I don't know why I assume most cities have Democratic mayors. I was shocked to know that Miami.
I would think Miami would have had Democratic mayors. I
would have thought, but they've had Republican mayors for the last 30 years. 30 years. So like we were saying, like that's an indication. Hopefully, that's an indication of where the country is going. But I don't want to throw a new topic in here. But maybe we can talk about this next week. But those kids that were that stole the stuff from Dick's and your man DeSantis, the Satan. Yeah, come on, knock it off, bro. I mean, you charging these kids with felonies. I mean, making a spectacle of it.
So another topic too.
We'll get to it because we could spend we'll get to it next week. But we've been going long here. We're giving the audience extra time because we've been off for 2 weeks. But the fact that they're comfortable showing these minors is insane to me. But we'll get to it next week. We'll talk about it.
Absolutely. So just to end it, if you're not political, then you do not have a perspective at all.